Time to end this story. The tale of all our adventures together. As the forgotten souls rise once more, a tale of the past I shall tell. A grand overture.
Ciaccona the Bard, the greatest musician in Rinascita, has finally arrived in the second half of version 2.3 with a variety of roles and team compositions, be it enabling arrow erosion or providing a massive number of Spectral Frazzle stacks for her team, with an extremely easy to use and durable playstyle, an insane number of debuffs, and even a bit of grouping in her kit. As an arrow-focused character that specializes in massive debuff application, units like Arrow Rover, Jiyan, Phoebe, and Zani can get a ton of mileage out of her kit. But it's clear that she doesn't have a best-in-slot DPS partner yet that can fully leverage her kit. Maybe in version 2.4. With that, welcome to our full-scope, comprehensive guide to Ciaccona, the newest addition to Wuthering Waves, and I'm here to break down everything when it comes to how she works, what her best equipment will be, and the steps you need to take across her team building and rotations to make the most out of her insane burst damage, buffing, and debuffing potential. As always, if you're enjoying this content, please hit that like and subscribe button. Ciaccona, with her baseline kit, focuses on applying a multitude of debuffs like arrow erosion and spectral frazzle onto her enemies with pretty much every attack in her kit, but her core gameplay loop focuses around building up a 3-stack Forte circuit, which she can then activate to apply arrow erosion to targets hit and group them. So naturally, we'll start off here. Ciaccona's Forte circuit involves building up 3 stacks of musical essence to deliver her enhanced heavy attack. She can build up this circuit in 2 ways. The first is through the use of her 4th basic attack, and there are a lot of ways to activate this attack throughout her kit. The first way is by simply performing a basic attack chain, which consists of, well, you guessed it, 4 attacks. The 4th hit applies a stack of arrow erosion to the target and also begins a solo concert, which immediately grants a 24% arrow damage bonus to the entire party. If Ciaccona is interrupted in any way, be it moving or getting hit, she'll summon an ensemble sylph to continue the concert and keep applying the buffs. If Ciaccona dodges during her basic attack chain, she'll be able to continue the attack chain from where she left off by using the attack button. Her dodge counter will also advance this attack chain. Ciaccona's heavy attack, on the other hand, simply launches her into the air after dealing damage, where she'll be able to perform 2 mid-air attacks and then attack a 3rd time to immediately perform her 4th basic attack. She'll also have access to an aim mode and a charge shot that deals very low damage. Ciaccona has another way of advancing her basic attack chain, and that's with the use of her resonance skill. Casting this ability will perform a short dash, apply a stack of erosion, and then immediately allow her to follow up with the second hit of her basic attack chain. When she uses this ability during a basic attack, heavy attack, mid-air attack, or a solo concert, she'll summon an ensemble sylph to continue the previous action. This ability can also be used in the air, allowing follow-up with those mid-air attacks. The last method of advancing her basic attack chain is through her intro skill, which also provides a stack of musical essence, her Forte circuit. This intro skill also applies a stack of erosion and advances her basic attack chain to stage 3. Through the use of an intro skill, 2 basic attacks, then a resonance skill, and 3 basic attacks, Ciaccona can easily generate all 3 stacks of her Forte circuit to then activate an enhanced heavy attack called Quadruple Downbeat. This attack pulls in enemies, inflicts a stack of erosion, deals moderate damage, and can also be used in mid-air. The last component of Ciaccona's kit is her Liberation, and this ability applies the most debuffs out of any ability in the game. When cast, Ciaccona summons her sylphs to perform a song and enter Recital, dealing a massive amount of damage to nearby enemies. During Recital, she'll have 2 possible QTEs that, when pressed on time, apply either Spectral Frazzle or Arrow Erosion and recover Concerto energy. While in Recital, Ciaccona takes 50% less damage and constantly applies her 24% arrow damage bonus to teammates. While in Recital, switching to another teammate doesn't end the state. She'll continue applying debuffs based on the last QTE she pressed, with up to 20 applications of Frazzle or Erosion, or a mix of both depending on your presses. If no QTE is used before swapping off-field, Ciaccona will default to Erosion application. She can end this state by either pressing her Liberation again while on-field, or switching onto her from off-field. When factoring in all of Ciaccona's abilities, resources, and interactions with each other, she has a simple playstyle that focuses on intro skilling in, activating her 4th basic attack, using her resonance resonance skill, and then activating a second 4th basic to fill up her forte circuit and then use quadruple downbeat. She'll then cast her Resonance Liberation and QTEs if necessary to fill up her concerto gauge, and then outro skill onto a teammate. This outro skill will amplify all erosion damage dealt to enemies by 100% for 30 seconds. And unfortunately, there's no character in the game, yet, who deals erosion damage with their kit. As you can see, she's one of the easiest units to pilot in the game. When it comes to Ciaccona's inherent skills, they're also very simple. Her first grants her a shield for 100% of her health for 4 seconds whenever she uses her Liberation, and when combined with her 50% damage reduction during Recital, she can tank some big hits. This shield expires when she swaps off field. Her second inherent skill simply increases the damage of quadruple downbeat by 30%. Ciaccona is a character with a ton of utility, buffs, and debuff support that either rapidly generates stacks of arrow erosion on targets, or gradually builds up stacks of Spectral Frazzle through her Resonance Liberation, all while providing damage boosts and grouping throughout her kit, making her a premium option in arrow erosion teams with Arrow Rover, who, with their outro skill, doubles the stack limit of arrow erosion from 3 to 6, or a potential slot in on Frazzle-hunkered lineups with a main DPS like Phoebe or Zani. She's got a lot of use cases on the existing roster, but still needs another DPS piece to reach her full potential in her arrow erosion teams. When it comes to actually building Ciaccona, starting off with her skill priority, you'll want to maximize her Resonance Liberation first, as it's the biggest nuke in her kit. Then you'll want to prioritize her basic attack, as you'll perform 2 chains of it throughout her rotation. Then you'll want to go for her Forte circuit, as it's another meaningful part of her damage. Her Resonance skill is last in priority, along with her intro skill, as they both don't deal that much damage at all and aren't really worth the weekly boss mat expenditure. Next up, let's talk about Ciaccona's weapons, and it's clear that she has some great free-to-play options, but not that many of them. Here's what the calculations are looking like using Static Mist, the standard 5-star pistol, as a baseline. Credits to Pridewin. Let's explain these results, starting off with her signature, Woodland Aria. This weapon grants a whopping 36% crit rate, a 12% attack increase, and a 24% arrow damage boost when applying arrow erosion, followed by a 10% decrease to arrow resistance when hitting a target with erosion applied. This weapon has incredible supportive abilities and a decent personal damage boost, and is easily her best in slot across her arrow-focused teams. However, it's actually worse than other options if she's supporting other lineups, like Frazzle. That's because of Static Mist, which provides more base attack and 12% less crit, but additionally grants a big boost to ER and a buff to attack to the recipient of Ciaccona's outro skill. With Ciaccona's relatively high ER requirements, this weapon both makes her easier to build and greatly improves her buffing potential for non-arrow teams, making it her best in slot option in Frazzle-related lineups. Another option that focuses solely on Ciaccona's damage potential is The Last Dance, Carlotta's signature, which provides a massive 72% critical damage and a boost to resonance skill damage, but unfortunately, this weapon is not recommended at all due to Ciaccona's very low scaling on her resonance skill and the lack of critical rate nodes on her skill tree, making her crit ratio very hard to balance if you're using this. When it comes to 4-star options, damage-oriented weapons like Romance and Farewell and Relativistic Jet are easy to use and can help loosen ER requirements, but the lack of critical stats can be hard to build around. And for those looking to speed up Ciaccona's rotations as fast as possible in exchange for her personal damage, Cadenza is another possible choice that generates concerto energy and provides ER in exchange for very, very low base attack. The other 4-star options aren't really worth exploring, and if you're looking for the most effective budget option, go for Romance and Farewell, as she applies her own debuffs. Now it's time to move on to Ciaccona's Echoes, and she has 2 main options as a sub-DPS depending on which debuff she's supporting. If running her on Arrow Erosion, you'll want Gusts of Welkin to buff her team-wide arrow damage, while if you're supporting Frazzle, you'll want her on Moonlit Clouds with the Heron to supercharge a unit like Zani or Phoebe. Her Echo main stats, on the other hand, will be identical across both sets, with a crit 4 cost, 2 arrow damage 3 costs, and 2 attack 1 costs. For her substats, you'll also have identical requirements, prioritizing ER up to 130% for smooth rotations, and as much critical rate, damage, and attack subs as possible. Ciaccona scales with basic attack, heavy attack, and liberation substats, but attack will boost her output the most. Just don't go searching for resonance skill subs. The last area of investment when it comes to Ciaccona involves your wallet or a lot of saved Astrite, her sequence nodes. Big thanks to Pridewin for calculating the damage increase per node. Her first node is a big personal damage and quality of life buff, granting her interruption resistance for 3 seconds after using her resonance skill for 3 seconds, while also granting her a 35% attack buff when using a basic attack. Her second node grants her team a 40% arrow damage bonus while she's using her liberation, which stacks on top of her 24% bonus from solo solo concert. Her third node greatly improves her rotation time and availability of her forte, doubling the stacks gained when using a fourth basic attack or a resonance skill, while her fourth node gives her a 45% defense ignore when using her forte enhanced heavy attack or liberation. The fifth node grants her a 40% liberation damage bonus and also grants a 30% damage reduction to teammates within her liberation, and her sixth node, the big one, causes her or her sylphs to damage nearby enemies when in solo concert as liberation damage. Now that we covered Ciaccona's build, let's get on to some of her teams and optimal rotations. Unfortunately, she doesn't have a lot of options based off the current 2.3 roster that can make full use of her buffing potential, which focuses on arrow erosion damage, but she still has plenty of flexibility to perform on both arrow and frazzle-based teams. This means her main partners will be arrow DPSs like Jiyan or frazzle DPSs like Phoebe or Zani. Ciaccona's best arrow team on release will feature Arrow Rover as the sustain and Jiyan as the main DPS. To start off this team's rotation, you'll cast Arrow Rover's skill and then basic attack twice in the air. You'll then basic attack a third time to plunge, and then basic attack a fourth time to completely fill up one half of their forte. You'll then perform the exact same combo again to cap out their forte circuit, cast their liberation, and then use their enhanced resonance skill one time before using Ciaccona's intro skill. That'll automatically cast the second part. From there, you'll attack twice to use Ciaccona's fourth basic attack, then resonance skill and attack until she gains her third forte circuit before using her enhanced heavy attack and then her resonance liberation, topping off her concerto with QTEs if necessary, and then intro skilling onto Jiyan. Jiyan will then cast his resonance liberation and basic attack, with dodge cancels if you want to optimize his damage output, before intro skilling onto Rover. When beginning the second rotation on Rover, you'll be able to perform their 2 air attacks immediately, meaning you'll only have to use one skill combo to completely fill up their forte. When gearing these characters, you'll want Rejuvenating Glow on Rover and Gusts of Welkin on Ciaccona, or Gusts of Welkin on Rover and Moonlit Clouds on Ciaccona. I recommend the first option for her scalability in the future. You can also run this team with a support like Shorekeeper or Verena instead of Arrow Rover for more universal buffs to crit or attack. Another team that leverages Ciaccona will involve her on Moonlit Clouds and Static Mist, and that's with Phoebe. I recommend running Shorekeeper in this lineup. You'll start off on Shorekeeper, build up her concerto with basic attacks, resonance skills, and heavy attacks before topping off her concerto with her liberation and then intro skilling onto Ciaccona. From there, you'll then basic attack until you get the second stack of Ciaccona's forte, then resonance skill and basic attack until you get the third, following up with her enhanced heavy attack and echo skill cancel and then liberation. Make sure to hit the QTE for frazzle so that Phoebe can gradually have access to these stacks for her most damaging rotation, and then intro skill onto her to complete her rotation. You can also choose to run a character like Spectral Rover instead of Shorekeeper as the support, and this lineup can be especially powerful in game modes like Whimpering Waste to maintain frazzle uptime on enemies in multi-wave content for Phoebe's Absolution heavy attacks. The last team that uses Ciaccona as a frazzle applicator is of course with Zani, with Shorekeeper or Spectral Rover as the recommended supports. You'll start off with your support, build up their concerto, and then intro skill onto Ciaccona. From there, you'll cast a resonance skill, cancel the impermanence Heron, and then immediately cast her resonance liberation, foregoing her damaging rotation completely. You'll then top off her concerto using the Spectral Frazzle QTEs before intro skilling onto Zani, using her basic attacks until her forte is filled, and then using her enhanced skill, liberation, and then nightfall attack chains. Zani will gradually build up Blaze from Ciaccona's liberation ticks, so make sure to throw in a charge enhanced skill into Zani's nightfall attacks to build up as many attacks as possible with the timing. When combined with application from Spectral Rover, this team can actually be a great substitute to Confession Phoebe, but lacks the Spectral Frazzle lamp provided by that outro skill and signature. Ciaccona also possesses a fair amount of quick swap potential, especially when used with units like Arrow Rover, due to her ability to quickly activate her fourth basic attack while in the air. But since this is an early release guide made for the average player, we won't dive into too many of her advanced mechanics for now. Now that we've covered Ciaccona's team rotations, it's time to talk about Ciaccona's, and she has 2 main playstyles available. The first involves intro skilling in, using her basic attack 4, and then a resonance skill to activate her second basic attack 4, and then max out her forte circuit before activating her enhanced heavy attack, and then her liberation. You can opt to trigger her resonance skill and a fourth basic attack during her support's concerto build-up through swaps, but this will only save you a little bit of time. A second rotation Ciaccona has is simply intro skilling in, casting a resonance skill, and then using her resonance liberation immediately, and using those QTEs to fill up her concerto gauge. This rotation greatly sacrifices Ciaccona's damage potential in exchange for faster debuff application, and can only be recommended in her Spectral Frazzle teams. Since Ciaccona will always be running Moonlit Clouds on these Frazzle teams, make sure you sneak in an Impermanence Heron dodge cancel into her rotation prior to casting her liberation to ensure that its damage buff goes through to her outro target. Since this is an early guide, keep in mind that there might be more ways to optimize Ciaccona's rotation further, so be on the lookout for more more follow-up content if you're interested in new tech. At the end of the day, Ciaccona is one of the most versatile and unique units in the game that blends grouping, buffing, and debuffing all into an easy-to-use and multifaceted kit, with her main drawback being her lack of best-in-slot DPS that can leverage her massive arrow erosion damage amp. Her main comparison in the role is with the Confession Mode Phoebe, who lacked a premium DPS option up until version 2.3 with Zani, or Cantarella, who still lacks a premium DPS that uses her Havoc and Resonance skill amplification to this day. However, she still has incredible potential as a general arrow buffer and an alternative Frazzle applicator who offers a very unique playstyle across her various teams, but it's clear that her true potential isn't close to accessible in these existing lineups. With many rightfully speculating that Cartithia, whose weekly boss literally drops the erosion set, will have heavy synergy with erosion, Ciaccona is likely a very powerful pick if you're looking to get the most out of that unit in version 2.4. But in the present, she's nowhere close to a must-pull, and even less so if you plan on skipping Renacita's Sentinel Resonator. As always, if you enjoyed this content, please hit that like and subscribe button. Peace out.